With nearly 5,000 specialists dedicated to supporting dealer financial services, Ally has the expertise to help you with your retail finance, F&I, and remarketing needs. We're all better off with an Ally. Contact your local Ally account executive to get started today. Ally, do it right.
Welcome to this weekend drive edition of Daily Drive for the second week of September 2025. I'm Kellen Walker here in Detroit at Automotive News Congress. Joining me today is tech and innovation reporter Molly Boygan and Larry Velaquette, who covers Toyota and Subaru for us at Automotive News. Molly and Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kel. It's great to see you in 3D.
So, Molly, let's start off with some Hyundai news. What is the latest on the Hyundai-LG immigration raid?
Yes. So on Thursday morning, about 300 South Korean nationals flew back to Korea. And there was also some reporting that showed that the Trump administration gave these workers the opportunity to basically figure out their immigration status and repatriate with the help of Hyundai and LG. So this kind of illustrates a positive development for what had been a very tense international incident.
And just so our audience knows, we're recording this on Thursday, September 11th. Now, Yusin Chung from Hyundai was here today. What did he say here about it at the event?
Yes. So Casey Crane, our publisher, asked Yusin Chung about the status of this immigration raid and the ensuing kind of fracas with the detainment of some of the employees. And he basically said, things have taken a positive turn, and he alluded to the company's hope that they can work on a solution to this kind of broader visa issue. The incident with Hyundai and LG's battery plant kind of put into stark relief this system that a lot of companies, including automakers, rely on, where they bring foreign workers to the U.S. to do specialized tasks using visas that are not actually intended for that purpose. So he appeared to be saying that he hopes that this incident will create a pathway for more legitimate visa distribution.
Interesting stuff. Larry, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, of course I do. So it's all just a big way to say, hey, we're open for business, right? If you're a foreign automaker, which is what I cover, and this happens to Hyundai, what do you do the next time you have a plant or you have people coming back and forth over and over again? Right now, our entire industry relies on open borders and open market and open relationships. And for all of this year, between tariffs and immigration rates, we're at a point now where you really have to question if you're going to make that investment, don't you? If you're a foreign automaker, do you come in because you want to avoid the tariffs? But if you bring any of your own people in, you have to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And that didn't exist before. There were informal agreements that you let these special folks come in and then they'd leave at the end of their road. But the whole raid, this performative immigration theater that we're in right now, this is not the way to conduct business.
So I just have to make a counterpoint. I do think that the Department of Homeland Security was really trumpeting that this was the largest immigration raid in history, and they detained all of these people. And you're right that the arrangement has been this sort of handshake agreement, informal consensus between the governments. But it does raise an interesting question. Automakers in general get tax breaks, get incentives, strike deals to bring facilities here. And the incentive for that is the assumption that these plants, these facilities are going to employ American workers. So I do think there's some sort of interesting question about how the industry can retain its necessary foreign workforce and also keep the promises that it's making to the government and to the consumers.
That's valid, except those tax breaks are on a state level for the most part. States don't enforce immigration. But what was interesting in this raid, my colleague Stephanie Brinley at S&P found out that if she pulled the warrant, and that warrant for that raid was to arrest 5 Hispanic males they believed were working there illegally. And how many Korean nationals did they arrest?
About 300.
Yeah. So performative immigration theater.
Interesting stuff. And speaking of foreign automakers, Larry, Toyota wrote a $9 billion check because of tariffs. Now, what happens to pricing and that money if the tariffs are ruled illegal by the Supreme Court?
Right. So the tariff case, in case our listeners don't know, the appeals court ruled that the tariffs were illegal, correct, Molly?
Yes.
Molly covers everything for us that doesn't involve wheels turning. So I have to turn to Molly to double check these things. But the appeals court ruled that the tariffs, the law under which the tariffs were written, does not allow their imposition because of a lack of an emergency, correct?
Yes, and also there's some question as to kind of jurisdictional is not the right word, but whether the executive branch actually has the power to impose tariffs.
To usurp the legislative branch that's in the Constitution as the power to, which has the power to
the power of
regulate
the purse.
trade. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens is, number one, as we've said many times, the tariffs are going to get passed on to consumers. But what happens if the Supreme Court says, no, these are illegal, right? Then the federal government theoretically has to return that money to the companies that paid it, right? What happens to pricing?
That's a good
Right?
point.
Because if you're a consumer, and I know as a Tesla owner, you've experienced buying a Tesla and then having the price of the next model drop.
Yes. Been down that dark road before.
Yeah, and it has these crazy effects on residual values. And do you then go back at your consumers who paid these tariffs that were put on your MSRP? Do you refund that money? No, you're not going to refund that money. You've already declared it as profits and loss on your P&L statements. It's going to be a mess. It's an absolute mess if they get ruled illegal, and if they're we're already in the mess if they're ruled legal. But if the appellate court is upheld, it's going to just play havoc with everything over the last 6 months. You might end up with restatements. You might have they may cut checks back to consumers. Who knows what they're going to do? It's a crazy, crazy thing. And as I noted, I don't know if you guys saw the story that there are some firms on Wall Street that are actually arbitraging. They're going to companies that paid these tariffs, right? They say, okay, well, you paid $9 billion. We'll give you $2 billion now. We'll refund you $2 billion. And we will buy your $9 billion potential windfall return if the tariffs are ruled illegal. So you make a choice as a CEO. Do I take the $2 billion check and use that as the Band-Aid to cover this open wound? Or do I hold out and wait for a $9 billion return that may never happen?
Interesting stuff. Molly, any more thoughts?
Another decision that I'm happy that I don't have to personally make. Let's put it that way.
Coming up, we're here at Automotive News Congress at Hudson, Detroit, and we're going to talk about some of the biggest takeaways so far from the show. That's next on Weekend Drive.
On Monday, General Motors CEO Mary Barra joins Daily Drive for an exclusive interview with automotive news journalists Lindsay Van Hully and Nick Bunkley. In this two-part interview, Barra talks about how EV headwinds are affecting GM's electrification strategy and her conversations with President Trump and his administration about tariffs.
I also think tariffs are here to stay. We're working on how are we aligned with what the administration is trying to accomplish and then make sure that they have the information to help encourage that. And I think that's the productive way to move forward. And that's what we've been doing since day one.
Don't miss this opportunity to hear directly from GM CEO Mary Barra, Monday and Tuesday, September 15th and 16th, right here on Daily Drive.
For over 100 years, Ally has helped dealers like you serve your customers by providing the best-in-class products and services you need, and by remaining true to the automotive passion we share. Your dedicated Ally account executive will work hand in hand with you to help you gain efficiencies, increase your product offerings, and work to improve per-vehicle revenue. Because we care about your business as much as you do. We're all better off with an Ally. Contact your local Ally account executive to get started today. Ally, do it right.
Welcome back to Weekend Drive. I'm Kellen Walker with Larry Velaquette and Molly Boygon. So, Larry, Molly, we're here at Automotive News Congress. Molly, what have been some of your biggest takeaways so far?
It's been a really interesting show. It's also this is my first Congress. It's very fun to be here and see all of these people that I talk to and hear about and read about all the time in person. One of the things that I thought was really interesting during the tariff panel, Hannah Lutz, who's one of our AN colleagues who was moderating the panel, asked a audience question. How will the tariffs and the ensuing potential price impacts impact upcoming UAW negotiations? And that wasn't really something that I had thought about all that much because I've been so lost in the sauce on the ins and outs of the tariffs. And no one knew the answer to that question, but I thought that planted a really interesting seed. And, time just keeps on ticking and we can't stop it. And there are so many events coming up that are going to be impacted by the tariffs, one of which is the UAW.
Yeah, I have a labor background. I've negotiated contracts myself. It is an interesting position for the UAW because you have membership and leadership in the union that were all gung-ho for this kind of protectionist regime. And now it's cutting into their paychecks, right? It's cutting into their profit checks that they basically, the way they work is that for every $1 billion one of the Detroit Three makes in profits, they get $1,000, right? So it used to be a more complex arrangement, but it was too hard for anybody to figure out. So they made it. They literally made it about 8 years ago. They made it this simple. They make $1 billion, you get $1,000 at the end of the profit cycle. So the UAW has had these wanted tariffs for a very long time. Now they have them, and now they're having to live with them, and they're getting a really hard lesson. And they're going to get a really, really hard lesson in January when their members' checks are half or less of what they were this year. It's going to be really interesting. And that is going to play within the membership. They had a historic contract this last time. And they went out with that historic contract and tried to do an organizing drive in the South. The foreign automakers, in response, raised all the wages up to try and keep them out. And they did get a successful election in Chattanooga at VW, still do not have a first contract. So that is kind of stymied their organizing drive in the South. But I will say this about this. This is not my first Congress. I've been to the last 14 of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This is a brand new venue for us. We are in the building where General Motors will move its headquarters later this year. It's a Dan Gilbert building here in downtown Detroit right in historic Woodward Avenue. It's a beautiful building, absolutely beautiful building. And as someone who's gone to NADAs and to NADA conventions and congresses and all these events over the years, it's spectacular. It really, really looks good. And I think this move for General Motors over to this, we're going to hear from Mary Barra later today in a fireside chat. I think the move for them out of the Rensen and over here is going to be really, really good for them. Because I don't know if you've ever spent any time in the Rensen.
I have. So usually when I come in town, just for the audience to know, I stay at the hotel at the Rensen. Yeah. And a joke that my friends and I have, they're like, oh, you're staying in the RoboCop building. Because it reminds us of the police station from RoboCop. Yeah. Carry on, Larry. Go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when you don't work in the Rensen or go to the Rensen, you get lost in the Rensen.
Yes.
It is impossible to navigate.
Yes.
It's I don't know who designed this thing. It was a crazy building.
It's all cement.
It's all cement.
All cement.
The whole thing is cement, and it's just cement and glass. And the city is going to decide what to do with it, and I hope they demolish it.
Before they demolish it, I think we need to record an episode of Weekend Drive called Lost in the Rensen.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for that. I'm here for all that. We have to talk to our producer, but I think we could get that worked out.
Hello.
All right. Well, that's all for this weekend drive edition of Daily Drive. Molly, Larry, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Cal.
Thank you, Cal.
I'd like to thank our executive producer, Jake Neer, for his help on today's podcast.
You're welcome.
You can get the latest news on Automotive News Congress, our 100-year centennial, and the situation with the Hyundai-LG immigration raid at autonews.com. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.